Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. Today we're going to do another episode of the Breaking Down Songs series, the place where we take a closer look at some of my favorite songs from all kinds of different bands and analyze the lyrics, because when we do that we gain a deeper appreciation for the music we listen to. If there's a specific band you guys want me to cover in a future episode of this series, please leave it in the comments down below. I'll check your feedback. Today we're going to break down my favorite song by Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine is a sophisticated band. They're more than meets the eye. It's not easy to pin down exactly which genre Rage belongs to. They're not quite rap and not quite rock. I would say Rage created their own mold, and after they did, they projected that outward into the mainstream. It reminds me of Guns N' Roses, kind of similar to them in that way. Zach blasts one bar after another faster than a speeding bullet, while Tom Morello sounds like he plays a futuristic guitar. I would absolutely rank Tom in my top 5 guitarists of all time list. He would be up there. When you listen to Rage, your ears get drawn to his sections just as much, if not more, than the vocals. I call him Tom Morello because he customizes his guitars more than anyone I've ever seen. Like, I barely even switch picks. Anyway, a ton of enduring bands meet legendary criteria by having multiple, nearly equally talented members occupying the same space, and Rage is no exception to that rule. Even though we haven't gotten any new studio albums from Rage for 20 years, 2000 was the last studio album, people still talk about them endlessly. They still crank up their music and long for some type of reunion because they were so blunt and uninhibited by political and social norms in society. They have bypassed the restricted area, broke through areas that normally trap other bands, and actually change the way we think through their lyrics. Let me tell you, you probably receive one band like that in your lifetime, if you're lucky. Someone capable of influencing the way you think. During times of political and racial tension like these, this band turns into a crutch used by people to steady them and also motivate them to bring to life the beliefs they hold in their heart by any means necessary. I think above all, Rage taught us that sitting quietly in the midst of injustice never works out and never solved any problems. If you want to see change, what you have to do is go out and actually make it happen. When enough people are committed to achieving a common goal, then real change flourishes. It doesn't matter whether Rage is physically present or not. We can still keep them alive by putting into practice the ideals they stood for in their music. In a somewhat bizarre way, I like to think of it like this, use this as an example. All Rage fans are basically, if you think about it, one bee that makes up an entire hive. Each of us has a job to do, and unless we all work together, nothing will get accomplished. We all depend on each other. Each person needs to work together. So, without further ado, I'll get off my soapbox and return to our usual programming. I want to tell you my favorite song from each Rage Against the Machine studio album, ranked from worst to best, 4 to 1. Starting off with Renegades. Off that album, I chose the stellar Rolling Stones cover, Street Fighting Man. Next up, from Evil Empire at number 3, I picked the acidic Tire Me. Next, at number 2, off the Battle of Los Angeles album, I went with the rather bashful, for Rage Against the Machine, Born of a Broken Man. And finally, at number 1, off my favorite album, What Else, their debut album, Rage Against the Machine, I picked a song far superior to 5 Hour Energy called Wake Up. So, my favorite song, as you know, doesn't always match up with my favorite album, and it doesn't here. In the end, I picked Born of a Broken Man as my absolute favorite. So that's the song we're going to go through section by section and figure out what the lyrics mean. Born of a Broken Man. Before we do that, let's briefly discuss the Battle of Los Angeles album, where this track originated. Battle of Los Angeles dropped in 1999, and the title referenced a mysterious extraterrestrial visit dating back to 1942. Contained the singles Guerrilla Radio, Sleep Now in the Fire, Testify, and Calm Like a Bomb. It had 12 tracks in total. This album sold approximately 2 million copies in America, went double platinum in both Time and Rolling Stone magazine. They both proclaimed the Battle of Los Angeles the greatest album from 1999, which is a pretty immense honor. It also skipped straight to number 1 on the US Billboard 200 charts. Obviously, this album was a rousing success. So, now that we've discussed the Battle of Los Angeles album, let's move on to the lyrics of Born of a Broken Man. I'll put a link to Born of a Broken Man in the description if you want to check it out. Keep in mind, as we go through section by section, this is just my interpretation of the lyrics. It's my opinion. My opinion might be different from yours, and that's okay. We all hear these songs differently. There's no right or wrong answer here. The lyrics can mean many different things. It's all in the eye of the beholder, as I like to say. So let's respect each other's opinions. I might be wrong, and that's okay. Alright, so let's start off with verse 1, which goes, "My fears hunt me down, capturing my memories, the frontier of loss. They try to escape across the street where Jesus stripped bare and raped the spirit he was supposed to nurture in the name of my. So with verse 1 right off the bat, you can tell this song screams deeply personal because my shows up numerous times already, and we're just getting started. The person in this song, he seemed to be haunted by something traumatic that occurred in his past. Time didn't heal his wounds. He was still hurting. The pain still follows him. Therefore, this guy attempts to find some sort of solace and peace in his life by turning to a higher power, asking God to help him with his problems, relying on somebody more powerful than him to essentially take the pain off his shoulders and bear it for them. Unfortunately, instead, after a while, he blames religion for not intervening. He feels really angry that this deity essentially ignored him and allowed him to suffer, didn't do anything about it. Basically, in the first verse, he says, "If you don't care about me, why should I put my trust in you?" Then we get to the chorus, which says, "Born of a broken man, but not a broken man. Born of a broken man, never a broken man. Born of a broken man, but not a broken man. Born of a broken man, never a broken man." Feel like a broken record there. Anyway, with the chorus, it contains a very simple message, really straightforward. Just because your circumstances start out bleak, it doesn't mean you're destined for failure. Not at all. You don't have to let where you've been impact where you're going. That's all it says in the chorus. Very simple. Let's move on to verse 2. "Like autumn leaves, his sense fell from him. An empty glass of himself shattered somewhere within. His thoughts, like 100 moths, trapped in a lampshade. Somewhere within, their wings banging and burning, on through endless night, forever awake, he lies shaking and starving, praying for someone to turn off the light." In the second verse, this part of the song provides us with a glimpse into his past, filled in the gaps to show how he reached the mindset within the first verse, the things he uttered there. He had no choice except to endure the neglect inflicted on him as a kid. He was probably physically and emotionally abused by a monster, not a father figure. A man who viewed him as a nuisance, not a son. I believe the moths in that part of the song represent how he wasn't able to just pack his things and go somewhere else, leave the place where he was being hurt, because he just had nowhere else to go. His thoughts were rattled and scrambled, trying to plan a way to escape, but he never figured anything out. He was still forced to call that home, even though it was the complete opposite of a home to him. Perhaps thinking just of a way to survive until tomorrow. That's how bad it was. He was forced to take care of himself. His parents didn't help him. They didn't support him. He had to do everything on his own. Likely had to sneak food when everyone is asleep or away. And I bet the way he was treated at home made this kid feel extremely withdrawn. It affected his personality, so he probably didn't have any friends. He was most likely a loner. Then we get back to the chorus. Then we move on to verse 3, which is exactly the same as verse 1, believe it or not. Evidently, his views haven't changed at all. Then we get back to the chorus one more time to end the song. So now that we've gone over what the lyrics potentially mean, let's transition to the mood of Born of a Broken Man. How does it make you feel while you listen to this song? Well, I would say overwhelmingly gloomy during the verses, and then it does a U-turn. Completely spins around by transforming into uplifting in the brief chorus. Both the vocals and the guitars mirror the mood perfectly. It goes from defeated in the verses and then just booming in the chorus. Kind of catches you off guard. The chorus will definitely sound familiar to Rage fans. How about the most memorable line from this song? Well, what else could I pick? Born of a broken man, but not a broken man. You hear that line a lot. This pair of lines are the primary takeaway, I believe, from the song. Rage might as well have put this in bold font and underlined it. The whole song can basically be condensed into these pair of lines. Tells you exactly what the song means right there, what it's all about. Let's go over some themes that I noticed. Well, it really only has one major theme. Nature versus nurture. Pondering that age-old question humans have been asking themselves since the dawn of time. Does genetics, or where you came from, or the environment, life experiences, which one plays a bigger role in shaping human behavior? Clearly in this particular track, Zach, the lead singer, he believes in the latter, that your environment has more to do with the way you turn out, not who you're related to. Like I said earlier, Zach, he says, you're the only one in control of your own life. It's all up to you. There's no such thing as fate. Fate doesn't exist. At least to him, you can forge your own path without relying on anyone else. Let's go over the strengths and weaknesses of Born of a Broken Man. Well, a strength was the message attached to the lyrics, which will resonate with a staggering amount of people listening, and that was what Rage did best. That was their cup of tea. The vocals were really spot on, and the guitar and drums were right there with it. They were all precisely on the same page together. Absolutely no outliers, nothing that'll make you shake your head or wonder why it's there. They all fit together really well. The structure was just fantastic. I give it 2 thumbs up. The difference between the verses and the chorus was especially striking, and I think that difference showed how much wiser he became as he grew up. He started out as a frightened kid, and then later turned into a completely independent man. Who wouldn't be inspired by that? Going from a nobody to an influential individual. The American dream practically married him here. Now, the only weakness that I could pick up on with this song is it was hard to hear what he said in the verses because Zach whispers the whole time. That might demonstrate his fragile state of mind. During the present and the past, he feels too emotionally weak to speak louder. He can't do it, but either way, you're going to have to adjust the volume, turn up the volume during the verses, and then maybe turn it down during the chorus. Finally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how replayable is Born of a Broken Man? How often are you going to want to return to this song after you've heard it for the first time? Well, I would give it 9 out of 10. Not perfect, but pretty close. Since it highlights a different flavor of rage, that's the reason why I didn't give it a perfect score. This song kind of feels out of place versus what rage usually does. When you think of rage, you typically imagine this in-your-face, rebellious, and go-down fighting lace delivery. And much of that was missing on Born of a Broken Man, except for the chorus. It was there in the chorus, not the verses. With that said, the lyrics still ring true to their style, and it has an exceptional message, so I won't let that stop me from recommending Born of a Broken Man to you. It's merely a surprising type of song, something you definitely wouldn't expect from Rage. So, that does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on.